Hi, I'm Senator Frank Wagner. I'm also a candidate for Governor of Virginia.
We're here with Senator Frank Wagner, state senator from Virginia Beach. Longtime legislator. You actually started in the House of Delegates in the early 90s. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about your career in the General Assembly.
Sure. After I sold my first company, I had a non-compete on me for 4 years. And I think, like most everybody, I was very concerned about what I saw going on in government, and said I really have the opportunity to run for office. Why don't I take that opportunity? That was 1991, and I won that election, and I've been in the legislature ever since.
In that time, you've seen a lot of changes in Richmond, I guess.
Well, when I first started serving, that was 25 years ago, Governor Wilder was the governor. I've been through Democrat governors, Republican governors, Democrat-controlled legislature with Democrat governor, Republican-controlled legislature, so virtually every combination that you could possibly come up, Republican control with a Republican governor, and it's been just a tremendous opportunity to work all sides. But I've tried to focus on issues that I believe my constituents and really all of Virginia does, based on my background, which is going through the Naval Academy, heavily involved in Navy engineering plants. I was a hard hat diver in the Navy, but I was also an engineering duty officer. So I've tried to bring the expertise and the skill sets that I learned in the Navy, along with my private sector business experience, to bear as I take a look at issues up in Richmond, and try to move forward on those issues that actually help promote the economy, grow the economy, and diversify the economy in Virginia.
And tell us about your business background. You're in shipbuilding.
Right, ship repair. When I left the Naval Service, that was 1982. I worked for a yard for 1 year and decided this is a great opportunity. Why don't I get into business myself? So I started up a business by myself, worked primarily as a consultant, was then able to start get industrial work and started hiring some of the people that I work with, welders, ship fitters, pipe fitters, really the people to make Virginia run. Brought a crew around that had worked for me in a previous yard, and we built that company from scratch up to 100 people and sold that in 1989. But I think more importantly, it draws on a lot of what I want to talk about during the campaign.
And of course, you've got deep roots in Hampton Roads. You're very well known in that area and in the community there, but you also have some roots in Northern Virginia.
Absolutely. I went to Woodmont Elementary in Arlington, Stratford Junior High. I graduated from Washington High School. So I grew up in Northern Virginia, with the exception of my dad's 1 year military service out in Fort Hood, Texas before he retired. I've been in Virginia all my life.
So what's your window into how the economy is doing these days in Virginia? Of course, it's very dependent on government work and defense contracting in particular.
We have to produce a balanced budget, so revenues are very much driven in our Commonwealth by sales taxes and income taxes, which is directly relevant to the state of the economy, really shows up. And government spending is a huge part of Virginia's economy. Obviously in my area, defense spending is very, very important. The thing that's concerned me in the entire time that I've been there in 25 years, we've never taken the good times, we just kind of relax. And that's not the time to relax. That's the time we should have focused on diversifying Virginia's economy, because the more diverse your economy is, the better you're able to weather these turn downs and recessions when they come, or a Washington-developed recession, if you will, by curtailing government spending. So we have got to build up our industrial base in Virginia, diversify our economy, build up our manufacturing base, and attract more and more high-tech industry. Not use what the high-tech brings us from the government, but be able to commercialize a lot of that high-tech, capture that business in Virginia, and continue to grow our economy.
Well, now it's interesting that the economy is an issue in this campaign. You know, Governor McAuliffe would argue the unemployment rate is coming down. It's down to 3.9% or so now. Why is the economy an issue in Virginia when it, on the surface, appears to be doing pretty well?
Numbers don't lie, okay? And remember what I just told you, our revenues are based on income taxes and sales taxes. We walked into this session with a $1.2 billion deficit directly related to income taxes and sales tax collections in Virginia. The economy is sputtering in Virginia at best. You can say, yes, we're at 3.9%. That leaves out the fact that there are a lot of people who gave up looking for work, and a lot of people are working at low-paying jobs and those type of skills. So it leaves out that fact. But those numbers, those revenue collections don't lie. The $1.2 billion deficit was very, very real, and that's a reflection of the economy. We do not have a transportation system adequate for the economy today. So how can one talk about growing the economy or diversifying the economy without an investment in transportation? Now, those in Northern Virginia, in my neck of the woods, we feel it every day in congestion. So you say, well, what's going on in Southside Virginia? there's no traffic there. Why do they have a transportation problem? Well, they do, because the economy is not sputtering. If you drive down through there, basically it looks like a recession, perhaps depression. Yet you cross the border in North Carolina, in Winston-Salem and Greensboro, and the economy is on fire, just 30, 40 miles away, and you ask yourself, why? Why is that going on? Well, North Carolina's made the investment in interstate highway system, and North Carolina's made that investment in broadband, and consequently their economies, it's the same people 30, 40 miles apart, their economy's on fire, ours not. Now, why should people in Northern Virginia care? I'll tell you why. $800 for every man, woman, and child in Fairfax County goes to Richmond and doesn't come back to Northern Virginia. It goes to treat symptoms of a bad economy. More social programs, more money for education because of reduced class sizes because people are leaving the area. More money that would otherwise be coming to Northern Virginia is going down there to treat symptoms, not the cause of the disease, but the symptoms. I'm here to cure the disease. Let's make those investments in broadband. Let's make those investments in interstate highway and transportation network. And let's return Southside back to the manufacturing base it was. It used to sustain Northern Virginia with textiles, with furniture, with tobacco. Well, those are gone.
One of your rivals for the Republican nomination, Ed Gillespie, has put out a tax plan that calls for a 10% cut in the income tax. Can you talk about that? Do you have thoughts on the tax policy in Virginia?
Well, let's first of all just review what I just said. I think our tax policy is extremely competitive with the rest of the states. Go, look, and compare state by state by state. I pay a lot of taxes. I would love to have a tax cut, but the reality of what I just told you is we just closed a $1.2 billion deficit. We're not the federal government. We can't print money. We can't go out and borrow money. We have to have a balanced budget. And so that $1.2 billion, to talk about an income tax cut, which I would love, flies in the face of that. We have a $6 billion imbalance in our Virginia retirement system. I don't want us to be like Illinois. I don't want us to be like New Jersey. I want to make sure that we have the money available to fund that so we don't lay off a huge, huge problem on the next generation. I've dealt with this for 25 years. I understand the structural balance of what goes on in the state government. I understand just how much that we have cut out of agencies, how much we cut, and it shows up. It shows up in higher tuitions. It shows up in many things. It shows up in the fact that we can't keep state police on the police force until we just address the pay issue there. These are real problems that we face day in and day out. I can't mislead people. Now, I think it either shows a lack of understanding of what's going on, which is to be expected. He doesn't know anything about what's going on in state government, or he does, or he understands, but he's going out there and saying, well, I'll say anything, do anything to try to get elected. I can't do that. It's just not in my makeup to go out there and say anything or try anything to get elected. I want to talk about the real problems and my ideas for real solutions. But I can sit here and look at Virginia now and say, if we're truly going to turn the economy around, I don't think a proposed tax cut on down the road, 2, 3 years, if it hits certain revenue, if you read the fine print of his thing, is going to achieve it. And I'll tell you one more thing, and you see it every day, and the more I travel around the state and talk to people, this is a problem we have in our education system that I believe is nationwide. We have put together a system in Virginia called the Standards of Learning, which is wonderful if you want to go to college. And we've done it at the expense of career technical education. And so what I'm proposing, and made a major part of my campaign, is around 6th grade, 7th grade, we make parents and the students aware of the opportunities in career technical education. And we provide the resources and the instructors, so if a student wants to pursue career technical education, as opposed to a traditional college bound, we have the ground route, we have the basis for them to start down that road to pursue a career technical education. We make that fundamental change in education in Virginia, we're going to grow like you've never believed. But I'll tell you another secret. Those with a good career technical education are making more money than a college graduate is today. And one more thing, and they have jobs, and a lot of college graduates can't find jobs right now. And they don't carry the student loans that the college graduates have. And that's going to be a huge national problem. The fact that the amount of student loans on the books and the amount of non-performing student loans is an issue that Washington, D.C. is going to have to deal with. But I want to see Virginia start making and recognizing where the jobs are.
It seems like a centerpiece of your case for running for governor is your experience. 25 years in the legislature, You know how Richmond works. It seems a little at odds with what we saw last year, where there was a real, there was the success of the outsider on both for Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump, who of course won. Do you feel that that's your case of experience is out of step at all with what Virginians are looking for now? Is there groundswell of wanting to elect an outsider to come in and shake things up?
Well, I'll compare this. I think obviously a whole lot of people around the country thought Washington, D.C. was heading in the wrong direction. Okay? I think people in Virginia think Virginia's okay, but needs to be set in the right direction. And let me say one more thing. My principal opponent, Ed Gillespie, is a D.C. lobbyist. I mean, he is the ultimate Washington insider. And his record of lobbying for Enron and doing those things and using his power and relation with the White House to profit and make money on the outside. Donald Trump talked about draining the swamp. That is the swamp. And that's what a lot of people rebelled against.
Quickly, your other opponent for the Republican nomination, Corey Stewart, has said that the fate of Confederate statues in cities in Virginia is one of the central issues of the campaign. Do you agree with that? I
think our heritage and our history is very important, and you can't rewrite history. In fact, you learn from history. I think it was Santayana that said, those that fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat the mistakes in the future. So I think our heritage is very important, and certainly Virginia has a heritage, and I think that the more people learn, we've had some great leaders, but like most great leaders, they've had flaws. And we need to learn from that. But I think an attempt to do away with these things, to pretend they never happened, to hide them, is a mistake. I really, truly believe that's a mistake. And I can understand the sensitivity of the issue. I understand the sensitivity. But if we learn from history, then maybe we won't make the same mistakes that were made before. And we have to recognize that great leaders have flaws.
And Stewart, of course, was affiliated with the Trump campaign in Virginia for much of the race last year. What's your feeling about the Trump administration and its start so far and what that means for Virginia? Would you be looking as governor to work with the Trump administration to further some of the things that have already started, such as the immigration tightening, looking at federal spending cuts and that kind of thing?
Let me just say a few things. First of all, jobs and economy. Let's focus on that. If the defense spending comes through, obviously it'll be a boon for my area down in Hampton Roads, but it'll be a boon for Northern Virginia as well. Will the boon be big enough to offset perhaps some of the layoffs in some of the other agencies that represent many folks in Northern Virginia? Until Congress passes a budget, I don't think we'll have those answers. There's some things in there that he proposed, obviously, I don't agree with. I'm on the Chesapeake Bay Commission. We've made huge strides in cleaning up the bay. We need to keep the momentum going. We are really turning the corner in the Chesapeake Bay. I feel very strongly about the efforts we've made. Virginia has contributed literally billions of dollars over the years in terms of upgrading our sewage treatment plants, in terms of working with our farmers to keep livestock out of our streams, and working with our farmers to put in buffer zones around the fields so that the fields don't run right into the stream. Many things, and we're seeing the results of that. We need to keep that momentum going. So there's certainly things in every budget I can pick apart. In terms of the policy, look, those immigrants that commit crimes and are here illegally need to go, period, okay? Illegal immigration means you're here illegally. Now, I believe that a vibrant guest worker program where we invite people, I'm not just talking guest Mexican, I'm talking guest Indian, guest Filipino, guest Korean, guests all over the world, come to our country, do the things that perhaps Americans are not there, or we need your help to fill in that workload, whether it's harvesting crops or finishing cement or so many of the things that the immigrants do. Make your money, go home. If you do that, you're welcome back another trip to come back and do work, back. I think a vibrant guest worker program would solve a lot of the problems of people wanting to come here illegally if they knew they could come here, work, and go back home again and bring their money with them. Well, that's the best foreign aid that I can ever think of.
Well, before we wrap up, let me just throw out a couple of off-speed pitches. When you were growing up, other than become governor one day, what was your dream? What would have been your dream job?
I had my dream job. I was a Navy hard hat diver. It was fascinating. I got a chance to go underwater. Some of them not so nice. You know, a lot of work underneath ships, a lot of cold water, a lot of dirty water, Naples Harbor, a few other places that strike my mind. But just the opportunity to go underwater, serve your country, but work around some of the best professionals I've ever worked around, the other divers I worked around.
Is that your preferred way to unwind when you're not in Richmond? Or?
Probably my preferred way of unwinding is playing golf. I mean, and I'm not sure I unwind when I play it. You know, I certainly am frustrated, but every once in a while you make that good shot and you think, oh, I'll be on the seniors golf tour. You know, they're going to be calling me any minute now to put me on the seniors, and then back to reality on the next hole. Right. But it's fun, and I enjoy the camaraderie with the other golfers, and it's a chance to not feel like you're on stage as a senator, but it's a chance to relax.
Well, thank you very much for talking with us today. We really appreciate it.
It's been wonderful. Thank you so much. All right, who's voting for me? Did I convince you?